Hello there.
General Kenobi!
What are you doing, step bro?
We're in for a long one today, folks. Chapter 6 is one of the most involved chapters in the game. We also get access to the side quest Premeditated Malpractice, which we are going to knock out the first couple of steps as we are here at the medical deck, and that is where this quest primarily takes place. Hydroponics is also a very large and open wing of the Ishimura, and we have to find 8 Weezers and inject them with a syringe to weaken the Leviathan in food storage. It is a very long and involved chapter. It is a very difficult chapter as well, with a lot of 0G and a lot of, I don't even know the word for it, a lot of really cheap damage that can be taken here. So we're going to take everything step by step, we're going to do it nice and slow, and we're going to come out unscathed on the other side.
Medical. Now arriving at medical. Beginning DNA analysis. Match found for Brand Harris, mining contractor, Aegis 7. Registered physician, Dr. Chalice Mercer. Warning. Severe DNA abnormalities found. Rig tracking is available to trace possible contagion. Authorized.
Harris, what did Mercer do to you? Authorized.
Syncing logs and points of interest to Rig Locator. Thank you for your commitment to public health.
As we take our third stroll through medical and go to the DNA scanner in the main lab and then over to Harris's ICU bed in, well, the ICU, any spawns that you get will be part of the intensity director. So I had a pretty quiet stroll over to the main lab, and then I encounter a leaper as I get back to the security station, whereas you all might have a big fight down this hallway and a couple of spawns in the main lab even. Just stay on your toes. There's a bit coming up where I come within inches of taking damage, and quite frankly, it's a miracle that I don't take damage, and all of that is just because of the intensity director wanting to throw me through a loop and really keep me on my toes. This side quest, the reason why we are pursuing this so hard and want to get this done as soon as possible, is it upgrades your stasis module so that it will fully freeze enemies in place and peel them with electricity, meaning your stasis module becomes a mini electrical gun that will not only hold enemies in place, but also take back the first 2 layers of their skin and of their muscle, so it's very easy to dismember them and take them down. It is incredibly powerful and definitely worth going for. Absolutely unbelievable that I did not get hit there. Turn the corner, immediately jumped by a pregnant. A leaper spawns behind me, and swarmers are spawning further down the hallway. Seems like damage is pretty much unavoidable. So I take out a couple of swarmers, stasis the pregnant and the lurker, start putting some shots on them. I manage to stun the lurker and dodge the pregnant slash, and then just start picking them out with my back against the wall. I'm in disbelief that I managed to avoid damage here. This almost seemed like it was a guaranteed situation where you would get hit.
Surgical log, Dr. Chalice Mercer, Tissue Regeneration Experiment 5. The children of the marker, kind necromorphs, have provided all the material I could ask for. And the infector variant has provided a key insight. Implanting the material directly into the brain renders optimal results. Of course, that requires puncturing the frontal bone just above the glabella.
Please, no!
Don't worry. It's been sterilized.
Now it's recording. Here, look up to me. Just a sliver of bone between us and Marcus secrets. Relax. It won't be like Aegis 7 and that unpleasantness with the nurse.
Wasn't a nurse when I did that. This errand you want me to do in ore storage. The miners won't like it.
They're probably as narrow-minded as the miners in the colony, yes. Tormenting someone or being a little different. Don't deserve a good scare.
Yeah, they do. I'm ready.
Easy. Try and slip this material in the right region of the brain.
Oh God. I can see the Marcus codes. It's been trying to show me. They're hungry. They're coming. They'll make us whole. Doctor, I see it now. The marker speaks. We can answer.
Tell me how.
Tracking related rig activity.
Mercer is the dictionary definition of a mad scientist. This man got corrupted by the marker and was like, Yep, I'm going to create an invincible monster, and I'm going to kill a ton of people in order to do it. Just flew off the rails, just like that. What a mad lad. Anyway, I travel from the medical deck over to tram control, and where we removed the damaged tram in Chapter 1 is how we are going to take a little shortcut over to hydroponics. All of the spawns are the intensity director, so let's catch up once we get to the hydroponics hub and hear from Dr. Elizabeth Cross.
Flight deck tram control. Now arriving at flight deck tram control.
Isaac, if you're near hydroponics, check your helmet filters. That air's not safe to breathe.
Yeah, I smelled it. The whole deck's rotting.
I'm reading a huge mass in food storage. Too big to be anything they grew. It looks like the source of the poison gas. That patient in medical, he said something about creating an enzyme, right? Maybe the scientist left the workstation open. Hydroponics log, Dr. Elizabeth Cross. Now that sprinklers are fixed, we're working close to maximum capacity. All flora is thriving, and food yield has created a surplus. I had the surplus packed up so we could send it to the colony.
Lifting station
Captain
lockdown.
Matthias is strictly enforcing his no-fly order. It's ridiculous. I'm lodging a complaint. Everyone knows Aegis 7 needs help. What harm could some fresh fruit do?
Nurturing cycle initiated.
Report in loop. This is Dr. Elizabeth Cross. To all survivors, turn back. It's all gone. Everything we grew. My team. All dead. That monster. Please, leave. Get somewhere safe. If I can find a way to kill it somehow. Jacob, if you're hearing this, You know I have to try.
Warning. Liquid nitrogen replenished. Beginning enzyme synthesis. Enzyme synthesis complete. Caution. Do not ingest.
Any luck?
Yeah, I finished the enzyme. It's been modified to digest something big.
They must have been trying to kill whatever's in food storage. Let's hope it works.
No. Go back. There's no way into food storage. Even if there was, the Leviathan would devour you.
You're Elizabeth Cross, right? This Leviathan, is that what's poisoning the air?
The air. My team has destroyed everything. I designed a special enzyme to kill it. I just needed liquid nitrogen to complete the synthesis. The people I sent to medical never came back.
I've got some of that enzyme here.
Oh my god. How? Listen, we need to inject it into the Leviathan. You can't get into food storage, but there's another way. It's risky.
Riskier than running out of air?
My team has been altered. They're all connected to the Leviathan, breathing out its toxins. That connection goes both ways.
Okay. So if I get to your team and inject them...
The enzyme will be carried right into the Leviathan's heart. Bind the Weezers. End their suffering. And when the Leviathan is weak enough, we vent the bastard into space.
As we move through grow control, this is our introduction to hazards that are kind of on timers. I guess you could call them like staggered hazards. So this acid is our introduction to that. We just need to space ourselves between these. Later on in the game, there will be large pillars of flames and things of that nature that we need to avoid. But we make it through the hallway and scavenge those rooms. There is always a slasher spawn here at the top of these stairs, and I think it's just awesome. Look at him prowling there. The lights turn off as it skulks towards you. Hydroponics, despite being a long and involved chapter, is one of my favorites. You really get to see how expansive and large the Ishimura is, and fight a ton of enemies along the way. Speaking of which, the West Grow Chamber here is another big fight that triggers as you get closer to the middle of the room. There are a ton of enemies here, and I'll even check my notes. There are 4 slashers, 2 enhanced slashers, 2 lurkers, and 1 spitter that I encounter. Could be different for you, but that seems pretty much like the standard for me. These normal necromorphs are going down in just 2 to 4 shots, depending if there's a kinesis object nearby. Plus we can utilize some of these explosives to outright kill the non-enhanced necromorphs and whittle down the enhanced necromorphs. Lurkers are still going to be a one-shot with a slasher spike, so we can utilize that and pretty much just pivot with our backs in the corner here between the left side and the right side. Thankfully, this spitter screams at me here, otherwise it could have just shot bile my direction and really caught me off guard. Quite frankly, I thought the fight was over, and then this enhanced slasher just comes out of nowhere. Thankfully, I heard him start growling before he leapt at me, and was able to do a pretty clutch stasis shot. The rest of this fight is pretty standard, as I've got this last guy crippled who pretty much is no longer a threat because I can evade him easily, and then another basic morph that goes down like a hot knife through butter.
Security request retrieved.
Hello, security. It's Dr. Cross in hydroponics. Something just hit the hull near food storage. We think it's a rogue asteroid. I have people injured from decompression. We need medics and crowd control right away. Oh my god. What the hell is this? Everyone out of food storage! It's alive! How can it be alive?
Ah, the Force Gun. This thing is the god gun and can trivialize most engagements that involve multiple necromorphs lunging at you all at once. This is akin to a shotgun and offers incredible crowd control, as well as amazing peeling. 3 shots will outright kill most enemies if you stay on top of upgrades, and also buy you some space if you wanted to combo this weapon with, say, the plasma cutter or even the contact beam's primary fire. The game knows that it's good though, so if you have this as your 3rd weapon, you're going to find your first 2 weapons are dropping ammo more frequently than the Force Gun. I find that the game is very frugal on the amount of force energy that it gives you, so just keep that in mind and keep yourself stockpiled and just use it in sticky situations or larger engagements. After this first Wheezer, a few enemies are going to spawn in the main chamber. For me, the lurker spawns very close, so I was able to use a basic necromorph's arm to pin it and kill it immediately. However, the other 2 spawns can be much further away, so I don't even hear this enhanced necromorph spawn. I just go off of Isaac's heartbeat and some of the creaks of the ship to let me know that something's not quite right. In this engagement, I ended up with 1 lurker, 1 enhanced, and 1 spitter.
Liz Cross again. I never asked your name.
Isaac Clarke, systems engineer.
Engineer. Have you seen Jacob Temple?
I haven't, but I'm looking for someone too. Dr. Nicole Brennan.
Dr. Brennan. Doesn't she help people leave unitology?
Yeah, like my mother. That's how we met.
I hope she's okay. The unitologists here didn't like anyone questioning them. And since the captain died, they've all snapped.
Level 3 of this chamber is easy enough. There are just 2 slashers. The first one spawns when you pick up the ruby semiconductor. I would suggest using Kinesis, as the slasher will spawn once you grab it, and with Kinesis you'll have plenty of distance to dismember and take that morph down. After the Wheezer, there will also be a slasher that spawns right outside the door, so don't go rushing back to the lift, as you will be embraced in a pretty deadly and sharp hug. To the top left of the Leaper, I also miss a large medkit that's on one of the shelves, so grab that if you are doing a run where you're actually allowing yourself to heal, or it's just a free 5,000 credits at the store. Either way, don't miss it like I did. There's a surprising amount of stores in Chapter 6. I imagine that the developers wanted you to continue through all of these hallways and corridors, as this is a huge chapter, without having to backtrack all the way to the main hub to sell some of your excess equipment. Which is great for us because we get the opportunity to sell off access ammo and, in my case, health kits. What I would recommend for you all is, since we've been stockpiling contact energy since Chapter 4 when we picked it up, the original fight down at the base level would be a good time to use some of that ammunition, as you've got plenty of chances to restock and pick up more throughout before the Leviathan fight at the end of this chapter. Just food for thought. It could optimize the fight a little bit and put you in a more comfortable situation during that engagement. Here in the refrigeration tunnel, we are introduced to exploders for the first time. These guys are very, very dangerous if you do not detonate them from a distance. However, they are glass cannons, so you can shoot the explosive on their arm, 2 shots with a plasma cutter will take them down, or you can even hit the shoulder area and take the explosive arm off of them, making for an easy kill, as at that point they pretty much can't do anything to you. They'll still be alive and shambling towards you, but you can use their own explosive against them, or shoot them down and save that explosive pod for another enemy down the line. Overall, these enemies are very easy to kill, and a great way to farm up a little bit of ammo. I really struggled with the West Tower fridge, as you're in a 0G environment, and when you move over to the Guardian that we'll see here in a bit, there is a Wheezer in there as well. So not only do you have the foggy nature of this 0G section, but it's double coated in the Wheezer's noxious gas, so it's nigh impossible to see them. What I recommend is that the first 2 lurkers are easy enough to take down. There will be another lurker when you move closer to the Guardian room. Stay under the line of fire from the little turrets that the Guardian can produce before landing. I got sniped multiple times by those little turret things, just hitting the perfect angle and aimbotting my ass. However, once you are able to plant your feet, the Guardians are a very simple takedown. Use the plasma cutter on the turrets, it's 1 shot to the tentacle to take them down, and then a couple of well-placed shots with the contact beam with the tentacles exposed will kill the Guardian. Overall, this section shouldn't have taken me as long as it should have, but I just kept getting sniped over and over again, so keep that in mind during your run, that you need to keep yourself out of line of sight. Just be mindful of where you are in this 0G space. Then when you move back and get closer to the beginning of the area, a leaper will spawn. What I recommend is hanging out in the middle section and waiting for the leaper to come to you. There's also a time where I made it all the way to the end and I was like, thank God I made it, and the leaper just dive bombed me out of nowhere, took me out, and I had to reset back to that last save point.
Entering 0 gravity. Exiting 0 gravity.
Exploders will ambush you in the hallway again as you make your way back to the main chamber. 1 will spawn in front of you and 1 will spawn behind you. Just kind of keep your head on a swivel and you'll be alright. I've had as many as 3 spawns here. In this instance, we just get 2. I will be dead in the dirt before I turn off jungle ambiance in this area.
Help me.
Toxic hazard cleared.
In hydroponics control, we once again take care of a problem before it presents itself by stomping the bodies. This infector I was positive was dead. The way that it reared back and was still in stasis, I thought for sure that it had already died, but it came right back after me, so I ended up giving him a couple of very hateful stomps for making me waste a couple of stray bullets there. Overall, just get ahead of the problem in these rooms. I probably could have optimized a little bit better and used one of the explosive barrels on the infectors and just shot down that basic slasher, but overall it turned out fine.
Isaac, I looked up Cross's notes on the... Oh, God. Oh, my God.
Kendra?
It's him. 2 doors behind you. Karen. He's gone. He waved at me, and... sorry, Isaac. Keep going. Just a glitch on the cameras. It looks like my little brother. Stupid, right? That's not possible.
As we enter the West Grow Chamber, destroy these pustules and grab the rig. It's going to prevent you a lot of backtracking when you formally discover the side mission in the mining chapter. We're about to be ambushed by another rogue tentacle here. I used the plasma cutter and just burned through about a magazine to get through it. One thing that you all might consider is using a charged contact beam shot, as that does a metric ton of damage and may even one-shot the tentacle itself. However, my issue is that I never tried this during this run, so you all might experience the splash damage from the secondary fire of the contact beam. I'd be curious if anyone has tried this out, and if any of the tentacles are actually far enough away for it to be viable, or if maybe they all are.
Just a repair mission, they said. Not this. Not seeing my dead brother on the fucking camera. All this death. Imagine what the marker could do in the wrong hands.
This is about CEC again?
Just thinking. If some corporate asshole tries to take the marker, you and me could do something about it.
You're leaning pretty hard on that deal.
Oh, come on. Where's Hammond? What's he doing?
I don't know. If I don't focus, we'll run out of air before it matters.
This might be the worst section of the game for a damageless playthrough. Not only is it dark, but it's 0G, it's very disorienting, and it's foggy as well. Plus, there's a bunch of turrets posted up in obscure locations, and they are nigh impossible to figure out exactly where they're shooting from. What worked for me was that slow and steady wins the race. I would hang out around corners and wait for the turrets to fire. That way I could use that sound to get a general idea and a location of where they're at before moving around the corner and taking advantage of that game knowledge. Once you get to the boots on the ground section, the non-zero G, I just rush in there versus trying to take care of the lurker and the leaper in that 0G space. I just wait for them to come to me and take them out on my own terms. Overall, this is not a difficult section on a normal playthrough, but on a damageless run, oh, it is tedious.
Entering zero gravity. Exiting zero gravity. Warning. Thermodynamic purifiers malfunctioning. Stand clear of filtration tubes.
From one fun room to the next, we now have to navigate these flamethrower filtration tubes. Now thankfully we can destroy the circuit for the first door and then shoot the circuit for the second door, meaning we can pass from 1 into 2 without any problems or out any hangups. Now moving from the second to the third tube, however, you will be jumped by a couple of slashers, so keep that in mind. I actually don't even recommend engaging with these guys. Just burn a little bit of stasis to slow them down and get out of the third tube and into safety. The flamethrowers should take out those guys and you won't even have to waste a bullet on them.
Filtration tubes.
The previous lurker and the enhanced necromorph that we just fought seem to be some rogue intensity directed spawns. There's kind of a tell for the intensity director. Usually there will be 2 to 3 necromorphs that will spawn seemingly at random. Usually they'll be waiting for you outside of a door and don't really have any sort of viable spawn points like vents or a ceiling to drop from. Just something that I've noticed. So we take out those 2 enemies and we head over to this elevator to get to the 7th Weezer, and there's actually a really nice nod to the original game as the distorted Twinkle Twinkle Little Star plays in this elevator to its completion. After taking out that Weezer, we now have to head back to the East Grow Chamber and mop up a couple of Weezers that we haven't found yet. As you make your way back, all of the spawns are going to be intensity directed. We deal with a lurker, some pregnants, some slashers. There's a really good example of the intensity directed spawns in the hallway with the tentacle drag. So just pay attention to that and you'll begin to recognize too when something is a static spawn and when something is a random spawn that the game has just tossed your way to make sure that you're paying attention. As you backtrack through the air filtration hall, make sure that you pick up the force energy schematics. You definitely don't want to backtrack into this bastard of an area later.
Exiting zero gravity. Entering zero gravity. Exiting zero gravity.
Once you reach the bottom of the elevator, there's going to be a quarantine and a brute encounter. What I recommend is actually leaving the opposite side of the elevator as I do, and then liberally applying stasis to the brute. You'll see that I kind of kite him around an area, but Isaac is slowed very heavily by the necrotic tissue that's on the floor. So not only do you have to watch your step in this area, but you have to make sure you keep the brute slowed down so he doesn't trounce you and take all of your health away. End up in the area that I am at now, and kite the brute around and use the normal strats to take him down. This space on the opposite side of the elevator from where I got off originally is mostly open with no necrotic tissue, so you've got a good space to where you can work the brute around and then eventually get behind him and take him out. Here is a great example of you all learning from my mistakes during this run. I do not prepare accordingly for this next engagement. When you plug in this battery, multiple enemies are going to spawn. Leapers are going to spawn all around you. I believe there's a couple of lurkers that spawn as well. They would be very easy to take down with the kinesis poles or some of the leftover explosive and stasis barrels from the brute encounter. However, I just freeball it and I don't do that. So make sure that you prep up for this next engagement, lest you waste a lot of ammo like I do, and frantically scramble to not take damage. So not only do Leapers spawn right after you plug in the battery, but once you switch over to 0G, you can hear some Leapers barking as they try and chase you down through the 0G section. I actually have such bad ammo management here that I am forced to resort to using the force gun to clear out the rest of these enemies. Now, what I would recommend, and again, we're learning from my mistakes here and my franticness, is A, to prepare, and B, to just run. In this section, you can very easily make your way up to the Weezer, inject it, and then escape the area and not have to take down any of the Leapers or Lurkers that I do. If you do choose to take these guys down, just make sure that you have an ample amount of ammo. That way you're not burning through contact beam energy, which we're going to need for the upcoming Leviathan fight, or force energy, which we've already established as being one of the most rare ammo types in the game.
Quickly get back there and space the bastard while we have the chance. Hydroponics. I need to record their names. Tanaka, Holly, Standard, Mark. So many. I don't know how much gas they took in. I just saw them change. That crack when their lungs burst out like fire. Jacob. I love you. And I'm so scared because I know how to kill the Leviathan. So I have to stay until it's paid for every single one of them. Open, but the Leviathan's too strong. It's clinging to the interior of food storage. We need more enzyme.
There's no time. I'm going in. Maybe I can cut it loose.
The Leviathan has a 10 kiloton mass. Do you really need me to tell you this is a bad idea?
Well, I'm all out of good ideas, so guess what's left?
Meet the Leviathan, the big bad of Chapter 6. This ugly guy is what is standing between us and finally completing this super long chapter. There's 3 phases to this fight, and when you first enter the arena, you've got a little bit of leeway to move some of these explosive barrels out of the way and pick up some of the ammo and other resources that are floating around. After that, there are going to be 3 tentacle attacks. There can be more if you do not deal enough damage to the pustules at the base of the tentacles, but generally what you will need to do is just strafe left and right in the 0G section and ensure that you're dodging the tentacles. Otherwise you'll get hit into a knockback animation and you won't be able to deal damage to the tentacle while it is exposed at that point. The timing for the dodges is not very strict. However, you are in a limited space, so if you begin strafing too early, you won't be able to course correct in the opposite direction and avoid damage. What I suggest is you stay on one side of the arena or stay in the middle. The tentacle will sort of scream at you and then go back inside of its compartment. As it makes its way back inside the compartment is when I suggest you start to make your move to the left, to the right, up, or down, whatever your preference is. I strafe just left or right. Either of those choices are going to be successful for you. You will dodge the tentacle, and then a charged contact beam shot will advance you to the next tentacle and then to the next stage of the fight. Once you have dealt ample damage to the tentacles, the Leviathan's mouth will open and you will see the main pustule that you need to destroy in the middle of its mouth. Just send a bunch of charged contact beam shots directly into the thing's maw and you will come out unscathed on the other side. It will throw these little grenade balls at you. If you're in a pinch, you can actually kinesis the grenade ball and throw it away. Throw it at another tentacle, throw it back into the Leviathan's mouth. But the contact beam does work and does wonders here and takes down the Leviathan very quickly. This fight ends up being about 2 minutes if you do everything optimally.
Zero gravity.
The air quality's improving. There's still pockets of gas trapped here and there.
Here and there, I can handle.
Listen, Jacob... My Jacob. Last I heard, he was on the mining deck with some other survivors. He said they were building an SOS beacon.
Did they finish it?
He said it was nearly done, but I haven't heard from him in a while. I can't leave yet. I need to make sure the air is safe to breathe, but if you can find that SOS beacon, call for rescue.
I will. Mining deck. Okay, got it. And if I meet Jacob?
Tell him I'll find him. He's all I want to see.
An SOS beacon. Someone jettisoned all the others. Isaac, there's a shortcut to the mining deck. Near Cross's workstation. I'll get it open. Goddamn. We might actually get out of this nightmare.
And with that, we're at the end of the chapter. Thanks for sticking around through this absolute monster of a chapter. Coming up next week is the mining bay, and that is also a beast of a chapter. So we are getting through the thick of the game, and then it is a downhill stretch, chapters 8 through 12. Thanks again for watching. Be sure to subscribe for more content like this and the goofy memes that I post on Thursdays and Tuesdays. Take it easy, guys. I'll see you next time.